Hello, and welcome to another Arizona Hip Historian Virtual Happy Hour Tour. That's a lot to say, and we're excited about it. I am Brenda Holt with the Arizona State Office of AARP. We are the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. With a nationwide presence and nearly 38 million members across the nation, and approximately 900,000 right here in Arizona, we work to strengthen our communities and we advocate for what matters most to our families: health security, financial stability, personal fulfillment, healthy living, just to name a few. During the month of November, we are going to be covering caregiving. We're here to help you navigate planning for you and your loved ones' future care. Don't leave decisions around your home, your health, and your finances to someone else. You want to be in the driver's seat. So visit us for more resources and information at aarp.org/caregiving or aarp.org/Arizona. We hope you enjoy these weekly sessions, and we want to say to you, Happy Thanksgiving.
Ladies and gentlemen, non-white every folk, welcome to the show. Get ready to meet your host for the night, Arizona's very own hip historian himself, Marshall Shore.
Well, hello and good evening. I want to welcome you all to Arizona History Happy Hour. Now, we are pre-recording this episode, and we've got a really amazing evening for you tonight. So, it's like, we've been doing this since March of 2020. But, first off, I do want to say thank you all for being here and joining us weekly as we get a chance to romp through Arizona history on all the socials. And so as we start looking at Arizona and its history, today being December 1st of 2022, that's quickly going to change to 2023 and not that far off in the future. Shocking. Now, I hope you also all had a good Thanksgiving. I know I was surrounded by friends and had such a great time relaxing, hanging out, catching up. So, all right. So today, December 1st. So here in Arizona, so back in 1929, the Globe Airport was dedicated with an elaborate program, banquet, and all the trimmings. So, that Globe Airport, there you go, started back in 1929. Also, back in 1955, Rosa Parks was coming home from work, got on the bus in Montgomery, Alabama. She took a seat in the colored section, and she was later asked to give her seat up by the driver for a white patron on the bus, and she refused. The police arrested her, and what followed is civil rights history. And we're celebrating that on December 1st today. Now, today is also National Pie Day. It falls right smack dab in the middle, I think, between two pie-heavy holidays, between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so, enjoy some pie because I bet you still have some leftover pie. So, now's a good time to celebrate that. And if you made your crust, you can celebrate National Cookie Cutter Day by taking that leftover dough, cutting out little shapes, and then that's, part of my favorite thing is the pie crust. Now, you can buy it pre-made, so you won't get that option of bringing out the cookie cutters, but it is also Eat a Red Apple Day. So, maybe you made an apple pie, and you could celebrate Pie Day on If you're eating apple pie, on National Eat a Red Apple Day. Now, it is also World AIDS Day, which is an international day dedicated to raising awareness of the HIV/AIDS pandemic caused by the spread of HIV infection, and also a time where we can mourn those who have passed from the disease. And I know there's all kinds of events going on, and that's part of the reason why we're having to pre-record this as well. So if this is your first time watching, you're in for such a treat as we take a look back at some of our past guests. We'll be doing trivia from 10 amazing folks who have been on the show before. We'll also have some Arizona music history, as well as From the Vault, which is something you might go by daily and not know the story of. So we kind of take a little chance to share some of that, as well as a cocktail. And so, let's continue on with the fun that we are having. So if this is your first time watching, you might wonder, who is that man and why is he on my screen? Well, my name is Marshall Shore, and I got to Arizona a little over 23 years ago. I was working in Brooklyn in a beautiful Carnegie building and decided to trade all that for a small library in Central City South, just south of downtown, in the Harmon Library, where there was a rich oral tradition of the community. And so my first introduction to Arizona was through community stories. And that has not changed to this day. I still love community stories across Arizona, learning more about them. And so that's where I got my feet wet doing just that. Now, promptly moving here, we were able to move into a beautiful 1956 ranch. And the goal was not to keep it beige, but try to keep it to the 1956 kind of look. And so the outside is now seafoam and cantaloupe, and the inside is a time capsule with lots of colored tile. My kitchen is buttercream yellow with matching appliances that still work like a charm. Now, as soon as I got here, all I kept hearing about how there was no history here, but I knew that wasn't true because every time I went somewhere, I ran face to face with so many amazing people, places, and stories. And really just started sharing those, kind of like what we're doing tonight. And then there's that post-war boom that I think in a lot of ways made the Arizona that we all know and love today. All those GIs that either were stationed here, trained here, or passed through on the way to somewhere else. And after the war, they were moving here in huge numbers, forever changing the Arizona landscape and how we all would interact with it. Now, I'm also called the hip historian, which means I get to have a lot of fun with Arizona history, as you're about to see. But some fun things we have coming up, we're doing Local Buzz, which is an app that you can download on your phone and hear from folks across the valley about cool things going on and even some history done by yours truly with Local Buzz. Also, we are not doing a December tour for the Haunted History, but what we'll do is we're actually going to run a special deal. I'll get that up probably this weekend. On January 7th, if you want to give tickets to somebody, we will make that possible with even a little bit of a holiday present just for you. All right. And then coming up the end of March 24th, we are doing Arizona Unzipped, where I am working with the amazing Pyra Sutra as we basically talk about Arizona history through burlesque. So in case that has you intrigued, we are going to be at the amazing Orpheum Theater. So be sure to check it out. You can either go to the Orpheum's website to find tickets, or you can also go to AZ Unzipped. And then in just about 2 weeks, we are going to be Festivus will just be ending, but that means you still have time to plan to get there. And I'm excited. It's the 13th year of Festivus. I've been involved since day one, and I'm happy to say this year I am taking on the role of Hip Santa. So, Lisa Fontaine and I have been chatting and designing the space of what we're gonna, where the Hip Santa's gonna sit and how hip am I gonna be. So be sure to check it out, as well as hundreds of vendors and a beer garden and so much fun. It will be the place to be December 14th and 15th, and that's from 5 to 10. Be sure to check it out. Now, please, some of you may have found the chat. Please chat away in there. You can also reach out to me either through Facebook, Instagram, email, or even through my website to get more information, or maybe you want to pass on a good contact, maybe a story. So let me know what you got. Oh, and now we get so PJ, when I was like, we're doing this retrospective show, and he's like, you never talk about your bartender, Silent Bob. So that's pretty much what is going to happen. Let's see. Okay, so let's do that. All right. So Silent Bob. Now, you see him most often just sitting there oh so silently. But I want to tell you the story of Silent Bob, because Silent Bob never really gets his story told. So what I think is really cool is, Silent Bob was actually a birthday present to myself several years ago, was made by my friend Stacy down at Puppet Pie, who does a lot of puppetry. She has a mobile puppet mobile, an ice cream truck that she can do parties out of. She is also the wrangler now for Julia on Sesame Street. And I'm so excited because Julia and Stacy made an appearance at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. So that is indeed Silent Bob, and that is the Macy's Day Parade, a view from where Stacy sat. All right, so, let's talk a little bit about, our cocktail is called the Silent Bob. And the Silent Bob has banana, orange, bourbon, a little bit of local white pomegranate, some watermelon, and some yuzu CBD water. All right. So Silent Bob has made, via PJ, a delightful cocktail. The Silent Bob, celebrating him and puppet history right here in the Valley. So here we go with a taste of Silent Bob. I was expecting more banana. I was expecting more like a now and later, and it's just a hint of banana. So the Bob cocktail, PJ, is a success. So thank you for that. Now, with Little Arizona, we always take a chance to talk about a town around Arizona, because, Arizona, we have not just the 5th largest city in the country, but we have lots of amazing places that are not quite that big. And so today we are going to talk about, let's see, pronunciation. I looked it up. Tumacory, and Carmen, Arizona. They're side by side. In Santa Cruz, the population is just under 300, but it was founded back in 1691. Now, it is a mission that first started off as a Franciscan mission built in the late 18th century. It takes its name from an earlier mission that was built by Father Kino. This is the one that stands now. And the ruins are preserved as a National Historic Park. So everybody can go visit. It was never rebuilt after being abandoned. So you're pretty much seeing it as it was. And it's pretty an amazing place to go visit. So I highly suggest if you get a chance to go, it is well worth seeing. And if you're wondering where it is, it's literally just, it's like right in the middle of Amado, which is on everyone's tongue is where that is, north of Nogales or just north of Rio Rico. So well worth a visit for that. Also, while you're down there, be sure and check out the Avalon Organic Gardens and Eco Village, which is over 220 acres with about 100 people who are there as a community, making it a sustainable community for over 30 years. So that's kind of an interesting place to check out as well. And if you walk right across the street from the Mission, you will find the old Tumakakori, there we go, Tumakakori, the rustic old Tumakakori bar. I've never been inside. I've only talked to people who have been inside because every time I'm going, I seem to miss their open hours. But I think it would be a great place for a happy hour. So go check it out. And they even still have an old A1 sign for a local beer outside. Now, here on Arizona History Happy Hour, one of my favorite things is all the trivia that we do. And so we are going to hear from some of our amazing prior guests as we talk about Arizona trivia. They are going to we have a question that's multiple choice, and then you can choose your answer, and then you'll get to hear them talk about the answer. So, and I also forgot to mention that it's like you might have noticed that Silent Bob and I are, you know what I can do? Let's do this. We'll bring him on. I forgot to point out the fact that we wear matching suit coats. And so that was one of the other nice little touches was doing that. All right. So we are going to now take a trivia adventure. So enjoy. So we normally do trivia, and this is no exception. We're going to do trivia as well. And so what we do with trivia is we have our questions. They're either true or false or multiple choice. So even if you don't know the answer, you can take a good guess at it. And then we'll take a little bit of an Arizona music break and come back, and Marshall will take us through the answers and explain the stories behind those answers. So who's ready for some fun? Now you keep track of, some folks keep track in the chat session. Some folks keep track on a pad and paper. Whatever makes you happy, you go right ahead and do that. Because the goal is all about not necessarily what you know, but what you know when you leave this evening. And that's the fun of it. All right. So who was the first woman governor elected in Arizona? Was it A, Rose Mofford, B, Janet Napolitano, C, Jane Hull, or D, Hattie Mosier? Who was the first woman governor elected in Arizona? The question 2. Which traditional lands does the city of Prescott exist on? A, Navajo, B, Hopi, C, Yavapai, or D, CRIT?
Crit. That would be the Colorado River Indian tribes.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So which one of those do you think it is? Question number 3. What is the most visited grave marker at the Pioneer and Military Memorial Park Cemetery? Would it be A, Jacob Waltz? Oh, I'm sorry, I messed all that up. A, Benjamin Franklin. B, Jacob Waltz. C, Tom Graham, or D, Rose Gregory? Whose grave is visited the most at the Pioneer and Military Memorial Park Cemetery? All right, question 4. Who brought camels to Arizona? A. Haji Ali, B. Ali Aboud, C. Asif Mandiva, or D. Ali Abawa? I hope I didn't butcher those too bad. So here we are at that halfway point. So which sport does not have a professional sports team right here in Arizona? A, football, B, ultimate frisbee, C, soccer, or D, cycling? So while you're thinking about that, remember, this is what does not have a professional sports team. All right, so question 6. Captain Kirk is a veterinarian and rides a horse in Camp Verde in what creepy film? Was it A, Kingdom of the Spiders, B, T.J. Hooker, C, Star Trek, or D, The Unexplained? Ooh, which one of those creepy films was filmed right up in Camp Verde? Question 7. The market was created to feature Arizona products made by people who wanted to grow their own businesses. What was one of the products that did not end up being displayed by one of the vendors? Was it A, leather jewelry, B, woven baskets, C, crocheted bathing suits, D, dog clothing, or E, t-shirts? So which one of those did not show up at the market? Which heavyweight boxing champion once resided in Paradise Valley? Was that A, Evander Holyfield, B, Mike Tyson, C, George Foreman, or D, Muhammad Ali? So one of those heavyweight boxing champions used to live in Paradise Valley. So question 9. Artist Bert Anthony, who created and illustrated the ASU Sparky mascot, modeled this very well-known person after him. All right. So was Sparky based on A, Gomez Adams, B, John Waters, C, Walt Disney, or D, Vincent Price? I kind of wish the answer was all of the above. I would love to see the mascot that included all those facial features. Question 10, and our last question. Arizona has the world's largest stand of what kind of trees? A, ponderosa pines, B, spruce, C, Douglas firs, or D, oak trees? Which do you think Arizona has the world's largest stand of? All right. Well, you are locking in your final answers. We are going to go on and take a little bit of an Arizona music break. All right. So while you're all writing your answers, we are going to take a little bit of an Arizona music break. And so we are going to talk. So I just went to the MEM. And so we're going to talk a little bit about R.C. Nakai. And so R.C. Nakai basically was born up in Flagstaff. And as a member of the Navajo Nation, at the age of 10, he learned to play the trumpet. But while he was serving in the military during Vietnam, he actually was in a car accident that ruined his hopes of becoming a concert trumpet player. But then someone gave him a flute in the 70s, and that changed his life. He then became a flute player, started selling just cassettes of his own music, was then picked up by Canyon Records, which has been documenting. Yep, Anita, you are right. There are only 8 questions. So you didn't, I didn't miss any, and you didn't miss any. So I didn't spend too much time at happy hour yet. And so Canyon Records has been documenting indigenous music since 1951 right here in Arizona. And he came on board in the early 80s, and he has 30 albums to his name, 2 golden records, 6 Grammy Award nominations, a Governor of the Arts Award, and an honorary doctorate from NAU. And with all those, he's traveled the world to play and talk about indigenous culture. And if you go to the MIM, they have a great exhibit of his amongst all the other stuff. It is so worth a stop. I mean, I've been talking to them about actually being on Happy Hour because they've got so much amazing Arizona stuff in there on display. Oh, and okay, so the first time I ever met R.C. Nakai, he was actually at a restaurant having dinner. And and I kept looking and going, he looks familiar, but I couldn't place where in the Rolodex I knew him. So I got my gumption or my chutzpah up, and I just went over and said, hi. You look so familiar, but I can't place where we've met. And he said his name, and I realized I had only seen him on the back of his CDs or on the cover of his CDs. I'd never seen him life size. And so it was so funny. Also dining with him was Bill Eaton, who is Roberto Venn, guitar luthier, was also dining with him as well. So, just by walking up to a complete stranger pretty much and saying hello, I got to meet 2 icons of Arizona music. So, and hopefully we'll get Roberta Venn on as a guest as well. So thank you all so much for indulging me in talking a little bit about some Arizona music, because we have such an amazing music history. All right. So Marshall, who was the first governor elected in Arizona that was a woman?
The first one elected was Jane Ho.
I know. I wonder how many people just jumped at that first of like, oh my gosh, it's going to be Rose Mofford. But she was not elected.
Yep, she was appointed, or she inherited it. She was an old friend of mine, and she didn't have as much fun being governor as she was as Secretary of State. So those were some angry years among some people. She had replaced an impeached governor, and he had quite a following, and she complained to me several times that she'd had enough of politics. So when it came time for the election, she didn't run. She could have won, but she just had enough of it.
Indeed. And then I know that she also had donated some of her softball memorabilia.
Oh yeah.
And so looking forward. So that's actually supposed to be coming back down to the Mining Mill Museum. Hopefully soon. I don't know how soon, but rumor has it that place is going to come back to life.
Yep. Yeah, Rose was a wonderful person.
She was indeed. All right. Which traditional lands does the city of Prescott exist on?
Alpha. Prescott Yavapai Indian tribe.
Ah. Now, what tribe are you a part of?
Chalagihia Yeli Yuya Anayuya. Yeah. I'm from the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma.
I've done this enough times. I'm like, okay, I know what he's doing. He's gonna then hopefully translate that for us, or just walk away and leave it there. So.
I am. A lot of people ask, do you know I have Indian blood? I'm part Cherokee. My great grandmother was a Cherokee princess. No, my great grandmother just an Indian. My father is half, and my mother is 1/8. So my certificate degree of Indian blood actually says 5/16. So I'm just a hair over a quarter. But I am who I am, and my mother, part of her blood is her maiden name is Sullivan. she's Irish, and being that I'm native and Irish means I love to drink, but I can't handle it. That's a total joke. Sorry not to offend any Celtic people out there. So hence the Coca-Cola that I'm drinking tonight for your happy hour. I do apologize. Yeah,
no worries.
But yes, I am from the Cherokee Nation. I'm a powwow dancer, like my father and like my brother and my sons and so on. I was very fortunate to hear the language being spoken in my house. My grandfather, when he was 6 years old, was hauled off to Haskell Indian School in Haskell, Kansas, from Oklahoma up to Haskell, Kansas. And when he was 9 years old, he ran away from there and ran home all by himself. Because I don't know if you folks have been paying attention to the news, all the horrible things that were going on. Of course, in Indian country, we've known this for a very long time, but the mainstream media is catching on to the fact that these residential schools and so on were not good, not okay. And they're finding bodies of many small, very small children with no markers buried in mass graves and so on in Canada. And when they start digging around here in the U.S., it's going to be pretty nasty. But horrible things were done. My grandfather ran away from there, and he didn't even learn to write his name in English until he got married. My grandmother actually taught him to write his name. So I was fortunate to hear stories and hear the language spoke, and so I'm not happy for the experience he had, but I'm happy that he was able to get away and run back home all by himself down to Pryor, Oklahoma, when he was 9 years old, from Haskell, Kansas.
Well, and like I know I have friends who are now taking Navajo classes.
Yeah.
So, which I think is great that a language that was considered to almost be dead is now having this resurgence.
Folks are getting more interested in it and reclaiming that and so on, and I think it's a fantastic thing. So I hope that continues, and I encourage young people to seek out and talk to grandma, listen to those words, even if you might not understand them, hear them and hear how they're spoken. So if you do happen to go back later, you can understand the pronunciation a little better, and help you get along in that way. And if you do, as an Indigenous person, if you do know some of your language, even a little bit, speak it every day. Speak it every day. Hang on to it.
Well, and like pre-COVID, I actually did a program in an elementary school. And so the young man they sent to walk me to the classroom, as we're walking, he's like, I'm going to go this weekend to go visit my grandfather on the res. How should I document our history? And I said, do you have a phone? He was like, yeah. I was like, take it out, ask him some questions, hit record, and get it on video as well, because you'll be so happy at some point that you have the facial going along with that. And he was like, thank you. And I was like, it's so easy to do things like that.
It is. Technology is a blessing and a curse, isn't it?
Very much so.
Yeah, but we use it the right way. I think we'll do well with it. You're right. I wish I had something like this just to listen to stories and listen to these things, but instead I kind of ended up doing it the old way and just kicking them here and here,
right?
And try to continue that with my own children and hopefully with my grandchildren. And well, not yet, because my kids are too young for that. Please, not yet. Don't take my words wrong, Creator. Don't do that. But I hope that it'll continue on, and I hope I instill that understanding and respect in my own children. That it does go forward.
Right. So, who is the most visited grave marker at the Pioneer and Military Memorial Park Cemetery?
Without a doubt, Jacob Waltz. I mean, people come, from, the Superstition Mountain, the Superstition Mountain Museum, and they are like, okay, we want to see Jacob Waltz. And then we all kind of cringe because it's the very, very, very back cemetery in the very, very back corner. And when it's 120 degrees, it's like, okay, make sure you have water. We're going on a hike. And then we walk back there. We have to cross the street. And yes, he is the most popular person out there. And, he is out there, but he didn't always have such a great reputation too. They had that lost, the Dutchman mine, but everyone's kind of suspects he was high grading from the Vulture mine and then taking the gold and silver out to, the Superstition Mountains, saying, well, look what I found, but when they kind of did the assay work on it, they kind of found that it's from Vulture. So he was kind of a little bit dishonest, but, at the same time, kind of mysterious. And people are always going out to the Superstition Mountains looking for his gold. And I have sat out there by his gravesite while I'm cleaning the cemetery. And I said, can you tell me where it is? I'll put a recorder out there. Just kind of give me a hint where I should go. But I haven't gotten the answer yet. But so he is the most popular person in our whole cemetery. That people come to see.
And the story of just the Lost Dutchman is probably one of the most retold stories in Arizona lore. And you're right, people are still out there looking for his gold.
Still looking for his gold, but we don't know where the gold is, but we do know where he's buried.
Exactly. So, who brought camels to Arizona? And it was up in Quartzsite. It was Haji Ali.
Quartzsite was so much fun. Yep. We were there more than once. And one time we were there, Al Jazeera, the television station, came to town and they wanted to follow us around on the campaign for a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. And it just so happened when they were coming, because I was like, we got a schedule, you follow or not. And they came when we were going back to Quartzsite. And so they wanted to film, and in order to do so, I don't remember, we had to have more than one car, I think. Anyway, they put Tara in this monster truck, and they're like, could you drive this?
And I'm like, yeah, we can. Muslim women drive. We drive. We drive them around.
Even monster trucks. But yeah, we went to Quartzsite, and every time we had gone, it had actually been really positive and, on point, like, talking to people. Yeah. That particular time was different because it had gotten so much publicity, and because it had gotten local publicity that Al Jazeera was coming. Now we had not 2 flaming problems, but we had not 1 but 2, right? Like the Muslim hijabi is coming, and now the Muslim scarf wearing person is coming, and then the foreign television station is coming. So it must be a takeover. But yeah, they met us with like these major flags, and it was pretty contentious. And I actually went out there and met with them and talked to them and tried to find common ground. And while we didn't become best buds, their steam got let go, and I think that they left better than I found them.
Nice. And Quartzsite is such a fun little town. I mean, you've got the yacht club right there where you can stay in a trailer or a boat. They actually have been getting a lot of press lately because they were in an Oscar-winning movie, Nomadland. Mm-hmm. And then I love how with Haji Ali, they're actually now, or his name was shortened to Hi Jolly. They've done so much around town to try and raise awareness of who he was.
And by the way, Haji in Arabic just means someone who performed Hajj in their life. It's a term of respect. So just like we would say Mr. or Sir. Or like but this is only given to people who have performed Hajj, gone on the religious pilgrimage one time in their life. They get that designation. And he's even more interesting, by the way, because he, I think, converted out of being a Muslim in the end and changed his name, and it's a Latino name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a super cool guy.
Yeah, basically he was the one that took care of the camels when no one else knew what to do with them.
Well, not only that, he's the one that the U.S. military contracted to bring these camels for this project, and he, came and did all, got the camels, took care of the camels, started training people on camels, and then all of a sudden the U.S. military is like, I don't feel like this is going to go anywhere. We're done, and just release the camels, and he continued to care about those camels, and rumor has it that occasionally out in the desert somewhere you can come across a camel. They haven't all died out yet, but the extinction has pretty much got them.
Wild camel.
You don't. I mean, there's only so many camels. They can only have so many kids, and at some point they're having
they run into issues because
so
there's not enough camels to play camel games. We got to have cross pollination, right? Exactly. All right. So which sport does not have a professional sports team in Arizona? And it's cycling, because indeed we do have an ultimate Frisbee team, which I didn't realize. I thought that was really funny that we've got the Arizona Sidewinders. So beyond football, basketball, which everybody knows, the fact that we've got so much other sports, I think is really cool.
Yeah, that's a good fun fact. I never knew that.
So I'm kind of intrigued. I mean, I'm kind of intrigued. Are there spectators when they do the Sidewinders? How do they do that? And I didn't look into it to see if they have like an official field where they practice and everything else, or even how big the team is. Right. I just think that's kind of fun. Which is talking about another Star Trek person, but yes. Captain Kirk.
Yes.
Who plays a veterinarian in a movie where he rides a horse in Camp Verde, and that was Kingdom of the Spiders.
Absolutely. William Shatner. What's so funny about Kingdom of the Spiders is, they did have some real tarantulas, right? That they were wrangling in, but a lot of those in that scene there at the movie theater, you're clear. It's obviously, they're fake spiders, right? But, and I'm not afraid of spiders, but I think I would be afraid of them if my town was overrun by them. And the very last scene of Kingdom of the Spiders is so creepy because the camera pans out and you see that the spiders have covered the whole town in webs. So it is really creepy. Yeah.
Well, and I was reading something that talked about when they were making the movie, they had problems because the tarantulas can become carnivorous. And so they had to keep all these tarantulas they were using in separate little cases.
Yes, I think I read that as well.
So which would have been a pain in the tuchus. It's like by the time you get them all out, it's like, do they start eating each other or what? And and then there's Captain Kirk in the middle of it all.
That's right, riding his horse, trying to figure out the mystery. And I believe the female lead was like a Playboy bunny. I can't remember her name. She was a model. It was her first serious role, so that's why she took it, because she was just tired of being the pretty girl. So I thought that was really interesting.
Hopefully not her last.
Yeah.
Indeed. And besides produce and food, the market had so many other things. The market was created to feature Arizona products made by people who wanted to grow their own businesses. But what was one product that did not end up being displayed by a vendor? Crocheted bathing suit. But I do remember getting and there was someone who was sitting there crocheting scrubbies.
Yes.
But they were really good scrubbies. They weren't like the loofah things. I don't even know what she was making them out of, but it's like, I've still got one, and it's like, they're no longer at the market. And I'm like, it's on its last leg. It's falling apart, but it's so good.
I love it.
So, yeah, I mean, you never knew what you were going to find.
There were so many opportunities. There were so many people wanting to share their great business model that they knew would succeed. it was early on, and I had a little bit of trepidation about crochet. It was actually crocheted bikinis, and I was just like, I'm not sure. And I talked to our board. Dan Clocky was the president then, and he said, well, here's what the board is good for. They can always say no, thank you.
So did somebody actually want to bring crochet bathing suits at one point?
Yes, they did. And I am not that good at saying no. And yet it did not feel right.
Indeed. But oh my gosh, I mean, Lisa Takata with her wool.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, and the stories of the wool. And so that was the thing. I mean, it was so easy to come and spend so much time because everything was, you could just buy one thing, or you could get the story behind it.
Yes.
And again, that was before people were looking to do that with their food. It was really, you got to meet the farmers that were growing it.
Yes.
And had just picked it not that long ago. So they could tell you when it was picked.
And what it takes to farm in the desert. I think my heartstrings just got captured getting to know the stories of people who can't imagine themselves being anything but farmers, and the humor and the perseverance and the stubbornness. I mean, and these are people that I care about, so I'm calling them stubborn in a most lovely way. Lisa went on to bring in a whole group of sheep herders from the Navajo Nation. She brought in jewelers. She works with them today and could probably tell you more on another show, but it made a whole nother connection to a whole nother part of the state, which was lovely.
Right. And so it wasn't even just Central Arizona, but it was really more of an Arizona market because folks from all over the place were coming in.
Yeah. Aravipa, Double Check Ranch drove in every Saturday.
Which heavyweight boxing champion once resided in Paradise Valley? And that would be Muhammad Ali.
The champ. Yeah, that's a interesting story. I learned about it post other champions that also took up residency there, which is Mike Tyson. I have to say that could have been the answer as well. But Muhammad Ali chose the valley, if you will, as a place of home and raised or had his grandchildren and family come to home.
Indeed. And over on the campus of St. Joe's, there actually is a little interior road named Muhammad Ali Way.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool. They kind of gave homage to him.
Pretty amazing. Yeah.
So, yeah. Indeed. All right. So question 9, artist Bert Anthony, who created and illustrated the ASU Sparky mascot, modeled it after a very well-known person. And who was that?
The devil himself, Walt Disney. Well, in 1941, there was this is not related to him, but it kind of relates. Walt Disney's kind of personality. He was a very conservative man. In 1941, there was a cartoonist strike because there was other studios like MGM and Universal. They all wanted to unionize. They wanted union. They wanted a union. They were, it was a team of people. They wanted benefits. They wanted to make sure their job was secure. Mr. Walt Disney didn't want that. He didn't believe in that. So there was a lot of people that left the Disney studios, and he just, you do Disney way or you don't do it at all. So
very much so.
A lot of those people that worked for Disney went to work for MGM or, Warner Brothers or anything like that. I mean, but Mr. He left because, he got fired. He probably wasn't doing what Walt Disney wanted Walt Disney to do. This is not Disney. You need to leave. So guess what? You turn the devil into the devil. So
right. Into the devil, ASU still to this day says that there is no connection.
No.
But that's why I'm like, look at that photo.
no offense to the Disney files out there, but come on, there's a bit of a cult following here, and you know,
indeed.
you're drinking the Kool-Aid, you're gonna be like, as Mr. Marshall Shore here just came from Disneyland. Did you get?
I mean, it's like, so I was actually doing it. So I thought this is a great time to bring up that it's like, so the end of this month and next month we are doing Disney in Arizona. As part of the summer reading program for the Maricopa County Library District. So I know there's several libraries I'm going to be visiting, talking about Disney and all the, well, not all the things, because there's so much that Disney has connections to right here in Arizona.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I was like, this will be the perfect time to plug that. So check your local library and see if they have me coming.
Go to the library, people. It's so great.
And then our final question is, Arizona has the world's largest stand of what? Ponderosa pines.
That really surprised me. Isn't that wonderful? Up in the Coconino National Park forest, and then it goes to across the rim and all the way to the White Mountains. That's just so exciting to me.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that, well, and and I love that there's some people up there now looking at them just because it's cooler up there.
Yes.
As we were getting out of the weather.
Yes.
To enjoy all of that. So.
And 126 campsites. I mean, if you've got kids, that would be the absolute perfect place to take them, especially right now.
Exactly. And that way they can go run through those Ponderosa pines. All nice and cool. And wow, what an amazing, oh my gosh. It's like I knew a little bit of the story, but that is so much more than I expected. So now you see why I said you should share, because it's moments like this. The story of just the Smoke Eye people, but then also I just love their new exhibit, taking that symbol as an act of empowerment back, which I think is really cool for contemporary Indigenous folks to be doing. So that was pretty amazing. So again, thank you. So, again, I want to say thank you to all of those guests. As we get ready to go into 2023, we have, the rest of this month, we've got some great guests coming on, getting to be an exciting year for 2023. And, we're also even planning some in-person events next year. So, oh my gosh. So, as I look back through all the episodes, what I love about, some of these folks, you've got Tara and Deirdre. The fact that they're going to be at Festivus with me is going to be really exciting. As well as then Dylan, when we talked about the bicycle team, that we don't have a bike team, and that he designed last year's shirt all about Charles Harrison, the mid-century modern designer who graduated from Carver. And so, as I'm like going through all of them and getting to hear the stories, the voices, and the Indigenous Peoples Museum. Oh my gosh, what an amazing place that is. So, so again, thank you all so much for sharing your stories. And I look forward to sharing more in the coming year as we get ready for a lot of fun. Now, because it's December, I thought, from the vault, I'm going to do so. And you might notice something by my background, because I'm sure people are going, why is there a Keith Haring back? Well, yeah, I don't even, actually, I think my head. So yeah. So right there is Keith Haring and a crowd of youth. So you might wonder, well, why is that there? So we were going to talk a little about the Keith Haring mural that he was here in 1986 in December painting. And he actually was able to utilize the help of South Mountain High School, an arts magnet school, and was really utilizing their students to help paint the mural. And so I just think it's really cool. And so you might wonder where it was. So let's see if we can make that a little bit bigger. So if we do that, you've got Hartfield's Dress Shop, which is right on just north of Miller's Cafeteria, the big pink building. That's Hartfield's Dress Shop. Well, by then it had closed down and it was covered up in plywood. And so that is ultimately where the mural was painted, was on the windows for that. So the mural itself was about 124 feet long, by about 12 foot high. I think it was just like sheets of plywood. And so basically that's the math of the mural. And so today, if you go, that corner, that southeast corner of Central and Adams is now a parking lot. There's no resemblance to Hartfield's nor the murals that are there. Maybe someday we can either geotag it or put a QR code to let people know that there was a Keith Haring mural here. And so, you know, I think it's so cool that he was here painting murals in the mid 80s and actually hanging out with a lot of artists that were local and developing friendships with them from such styles, as well as many other artists had a connection to him. So he impacted the Valley in ways we haven't seen. And I like to think that he had his own part in kind of all the murals we're seeing now, that he had his hand in helping influence something that was happening so much later. All right. Well, I guess so the mural was actually painted. So he was in town for the art museum to do a drawing workshop with youth, because one of his pieces was at the Face Art Museum. And as he's coming through town, he's like, where is the public art? There's no public art. I mean, he's coming from New York, where there's all kinds of things everywhere. And so basically City Council, the Phoenix Art Museum, and South Mountain High School get together. And so they decide that they will do this as a mural. And it was removed in the early 90s. And that's a whole story in itself. So there may still be some traces of that mural around, but they're kind of hidden from view. But indeed, he was here. So I think that's pretty darn cool. All right. And so now you'll see why I always say you should share on Facebook, because look how much fun we're having with so many amazing folks as they talk about Arizona history and its diversity. So again, thank you all so much. Next week, we have Jim Olson from the Western Trading Post as our guest. And so that's going to be a super fun episode. Thursday night, 7 o'clock, same bat time, same bat channel. Now, as we get ready to say good night, I want to remind you all that I love to hear from you. So please reach out. And I love to give a shout out to Chris and Cole for that amazing video, as well as PJ for honoring Silent Bob, my bartender, with an oh so special cocktail. Now, as we say goodnight, I'm actually going to show film footage of Keith Haring with those students in downtown Phoenix painting a mural. Now, just so you know, there is no soundtrack for this. There is no music or anything. So enjoy watching Keith Haring on the southeast corner of Central and Adams, working with a group of students as they paint a mural that's now missing.